everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Rage Room. Hey guys, I am your host Amanda, and this is my co-host Karen.
Hello everyone, and let's get dark.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are here at episode 10 of The Rage Room. How's everybody doing? How was your week? How was your week?
It was good.
It was good?
It was good.
It was good.
Lots of accomplishments.
Nice. Today's case, I'm going to be talking about Sylvia Mary Likens. Have you ever heard of her before?
I have not.
So, buckle in. This one's really tough. Trigger warning, guys. This one is full of assault, torture, you name it, it's in it. So if this one's not for you, skip ahead to next week. Also, next week we are going to be having our first kid-friendly episode.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
So we have two featured special guests, and I would consider them quite the what's the word I'm looking for here?
The Nancy Drew of today's times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have two youngsters that are very interested in true crime and very
mysteries and all that.
Yeah.
So solving mysteries, little detectives.
So we'll be having some special guests. So stay tuned. It will be family friendly. You can let your little ones listen. I will be editing as far as any major details that are in those cases. They are soft cases, so please join in for next week. We want it to be a fun family affair. All right. So we're going to talk about Sylvia Mary Likens, and she was born on January 3rd, 1949. This is a while ago, in Lebanon, Indiana. Her parents, Elizabeth and Lester Likens, were traveling entertainers and made a living performing through traveling circuses. Sylvia had 4 brothers and sisters, the youngest of whom was Jenny. She had gotten polio when she was younger and had problems with her motor apparatus, so she still could walk, but she had a limp. Okay, so it really affected her ability to move thoroughly like you and I would.
So what did her parents do in the circus? Do you know?
I actually don't know. I think her dad was a carny, but I'm not sure what her mom did, but I know that they were in the entertainment part of it, so I don't know if they were part of the show. I don't know. Okay. You always ask me details. The one thing that I don't research. So, Jenny, who had polio, her older sister Sylvia, who we're going to be talking about, she really took care of Jenny. She kind of took on the mother role while the parents moved through the circus and traveled, and just kind of helped her navigate life physically. Others noted that Sylvia was very kind, she was sympathetic, and since the parents were often away, like I said, she took care of her brothers and sisters herself. This girl helped them with their lessons, she cooked their food, she cared for her sister Jenny, and Sylvia actually became like a second mother to all of the siblings, helping them in all of life's circumstances.
Okay.
Unfortunately, even when Lester and Elizabeth, the parents, even if they were close, they were still pretty distant because they constantly traveled. And though they tried their best, they still didn't earn enough money while traveling for them to live on. So
couldn't really take care of the kids financially.
Correct, and very poor.
Okay.
In addition, Sylvia's parents often left the children in care of close relatives, so they would take care of them while they were going to school, and they were also very active in the church. And I can't remember the church's name, but it is on the movie that they created after her, so you can check that out on the movie. And also, the parents weren't aware that during all of this, the kids ended up in about 14 different homeless shelters, just bouncing around.
Geez.
Yeah. So just really struggling to
Did it ever occur to the parents possibly to maybe leave the circus and get employment elsewhere where they would be stationary and take care of their kids? Or
I'm assuming that money was such a high factor for them that they
Yeah.
were just, they couldn't even afford to, like,
even try
Even
to
try,
even try
yeah.
the transition?
yeah.
Okay.
In 1965, Lester and Betty went through a breakup. They kind of were this off again, on again. This is the parents. And the father of the family, Lester, decided to go to another state and work in the carnival to try to help support the family. And Sylvia's mother and her children stayed in their home in Lebanon, or Lebanon. It's however you pronounce it. However, when Lester returned home, he was surprised to find out that his wife had been put in jail for, like, being a thief. So she stole something, and so she was doing some jail time. Now, we're about to introduce a new character, a woman named Gertrude Baniszewski. And Elizabeth had known Gertrude and their family because they attended church together.
Okay.
Realizing the fact that they were not able to raise the children alone, he had the two older boys. They were trying to help out in the circus, trying to make money, but he really didn't have anywhere to go with Sylvia and Jenny because they were, Sylvia kind of took care of Jenny. And so Lester knew about Gertrude and kind of confided her as a friend. He was like, I don't have anywhere for my girls. Like, I'm trying to find a place. And she finally says, hey, why don't you just give me $20 a week and they can stay with me?
Okay.
Okay, so not a super close friend, but they still knew of each other.
They wanted to help someone else out.
Right. So we're going to talk about Gertrude. Gertrude was born and raised in Indiana, and she was the third of 6 children, and not much is known about her childhood, other than she lived like a mid-working class life, and she wasn't very close to her mother. She's just like, oh, she was my mom. But she did state that she was very close with her father. And when Gertrude was 11, she had witnessed her father dying from a massive heart attack. So here's the thing we're going to talk about again, and we've talked about this before, was are sociopaths created or are they born that way?
Right.
Okay, so there's not much about her childhood, but the things that this woman does, something had to have happened in this woman's childhood for her to be the monster is not even a word. It's so much worse than just monster that this
Right.
woman is. At age 16, Gertrude dropped out of high school and married a man by the name of John, and then they go on to have 4 children together, Paula, Stephanie, John, and Marie. John became very abusive towards Gertrude, and the home really started to take on a very toxic environment, and John would even go to beat her in front of the children. Then after 10 years of marriage, Gertrude takes the kids and leaves. She's like, I'm done, I've had enough, I'm not your punching bag kind of thing. Ultimately leaving the marriage, and then she quickly remarries another man. His name is Edward, and that marriage only lasted 3 months. Then she goes back to her first husband, John, the one that beat her.
Okay, a little bouncy ball.
Yeah, red flag. Then they go on to have 2 more children, Shirley and James. Then, surprise, surprise, they end up divorcing again, and Gertrude begins dating again. So she's really not one to want to be alone. She began dating Dennis Lee and got pregnant by him, and 9 months later, she gives birth, and then when that happens, Dennis is like, yo, peace, bye,
Oh, wow.
I'm out. Yeah.
Wow.
But the kicker is like, he says no to their, like, relationship, but he's often in and out of her life, like, still coming to her for money, even during this story. And when she gave birth to the baby, she filed a paternity lawsuit for child support, and the court did side with her, but he never paid a dime. So
Well, that happens often.
he's a real nice guy.
He's a wiener.
Yeah. So at age 37, I'm going to refer to her as Gertie now because that's what everybody called her was Gertie.
Okay.
Gertie found herself a single mother of 7 children and divorced 3 times in a very short amount of time. By the way, this family was catastrophically poor. A lot of the basic amenities that you have, like we have in our house, they didn't have. And due to that, their family really consisted of just eating sandwiches from stale bread and leftovers found in the trash.
Did they have electricity?
Yeah, they had electricity.
Oh, okay.
So now we're going to go back to Sylvia Likens. So we have our little history about Gertie. So now we're going to go back and talk about Sylvia Likens after we talked about Gertrude, or Gertie. And she had befriended one of Gertie's daughters, Stephanie. And there was a day that they were in school, and she kind of like invited her over for a sleepover. So this is like the back history of how they ended up at Gertie's house. And they became friends, and she invited her over for a sleepover, and one day the dad picks up, and like I said, he kind of confides in her, and she tells him, well, just let the kids stay with me. So that's kind of how that happened.
Okay.
Plus, they all knew each other in church, like I said
they're
before.
all at Gertie's house.
Exactly. First, everything is great. Paula, she's the oldest. She's still working a job and helping, bring money in for the house for Gertie and the family. They've got this baby and then all of these kids as well. And so the girls, eventually start helping out with chores and just kind of accept it into the family. But then things start to take a very hard left. Sylvia's father was late on a check for the $20 to watch them, okay? So one time he's late for the check. She's frustrated. She's counting on that money, and she starts to act really pissed off towards the girls, and she starts taking out anger on them.
Like it's their fault.
Right, that he's late on the check.
Right.
One of the first disciplinary acts that was done was that Gertrude took the girls down to the basement with a 1/4-inch paddle and then said, well, I took care of you two little bitches for a week for nothing. And
God.
And then proceeded to beat them. And in this process, Sylvia, once Jenny gets hit with the board, she's like, I'll take hers, because it knocks her down because she's got a limp.
Right.
And Jenny's, pretty young, and she's like, I'll take hers. And so Gertie then proceeds to beat the hell out of Sylvia. And then another time the girls got beat with a paddle was for eating too much at a church dinner.
Didn't know there was a rule about that.
Apparently there was in this household. However, even though they both received beatings, the anger was mostly displayed onto Sylvia most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay?
She was the prime focus of Gertrude's, her anger and her mental illness or whatever her issues were. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, it's not really going a lot as far as the beatings at this point. They're still kind of like, okay, she took the discipline, we're moving on. Her and Paula kind of get close. Sylvia and Paula, Gertie's oldest, and they go out one night, and Paula was dating a married man. Okay?
Okay.
And she had confided into Sylvia that she was pregnant by this man.
Okay.
So
and
they're
how
all,
old is Sylvia at this point?
She's 16.
Okay.
So they're kind of like, that high school,
All right.
So they're all out one night, and this married man that Paula was dating pulls up, and she, gets excited and goes over. And Sylvia's, a little concerned because for obvious reasons, he's much older, he's married.
Right.
And she kind of, walks up on them in an alley and overhears her saying, I've been missing you, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I told you this is done, we need to cut this off, I'm going back to my wife. The same old, same old. And so she, desperately is like, no, I love you. And he, gets a little physical with her and, starts, not really to hit her, but, just gets aggressive.
Roughing her up a little bit.
And this upsets Sylvia, and so she's like, hey, stop, she's pregnant.
Oh, cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, and, she wasn't thinking, she didn't do it on purpose, but, she was just trying to get him to stop, getting rough with her.
I understand.
So Paula is completely embarrassed by this. Sylvia has let the cat out of the bag, like you said, and Paula is devastated. She goes home and she cries to Gertie, her mom. So then she tells her mom that Sylvia told everybody that she was a slut.
Oh boy, okay, here we go.
Instead of saying, this is what happened, or hey mom, I'm pregnant, she goes and tells her that Sylvia said that I was a slut and embarrassed me in front of everybody.
Let's just stir that pot with our lies.
Yep, and so this really, really gets Gertie. Nothing comes between her and her kids. So then Sylvia comes home the next day from school, and they're all standing in, the living room area, and Gertrude's like, we need to talk. Now, mind you, everybody's watching, and she's like, I heard that you've been talking badly about Paula, and that you called her a slut. And she's like, no, that's not what happened, and she's trying to defend herself, and she was like, you said this, you need to take responsibility, you need to take your punishment. And Paula's kind of like, don't worry about it, but she's upset still. And so Sylvia apologizes, and then Gertie's like, that's not enough. And then allows Paula to beat the ever-living shit out of Sylvia.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So much so that Paula breaks her wrist on her.
Jeez.
Yeah. So then, once that happens, she, throws her in, the basement. That's where she's now kept.
Man, I've got a funny feeling with this case, we're going to be taking abuse to a whole nother level.
Yeah, it gets pretty intense, so fair warning. We're just getting started. So all of this is going on. Now the cat's kind of out of the bag. There's rumor talking about Paula's a slut, Paula's pregnant, and it's going all through high school like wildfire, right?
Right.
And Paula, even though it's true, she's still like, constantly saying Sylvia's talking bad about me. She's not going to learn her lesson. Same old stuff. Then Gertrude starts taking things to the next level, and they start denying her food. So now she's being kept in the basement a lot more, and they're taking food away from her as well.
Okay.
Sylvia then begins getting things from the park and trying to recycle them to get money so that she can get food. Okay? So she comes home. Of course, one of the kids tells on her, like, hey, we saw her doing this, and they accuse her of stealing from things in the house.
Oh, my gosh.
So guess what happens?
In the basement, she gets beat.
Yep. And of course, she got punished heavily for that as well. Another incident is that Sylvia was force-fed a hot dog with a lot of condiments on it, and they force-fed it to her while she ended up choking and then vomiting it back up, and then they made her eat it again.
Oh, God, no. Mm-hmm. No, you definitely lost me there.
Yeah. So, and this case, there's so much abuse in it. Like, I literally had to narrow it down to paragraphs at a time because there's so much in this story, the torture that they put this poor girl through. She was also, accused, like we said, she was, constantly spreading rumors. So it was always something new. Either she was stealing or she was spreading rumors. And then the kids would go and tell Gertrude, and then Gertrude would go ahead and start punishing her. Yeah.
Dole out all the punishment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Stephanie, who is the second oldest, Paula's younger sister, then tells her boyfriend Coy that Sylvia called her a prostitute, and her boyfriend Coy goes and beats up Sylvia as well.
So this Paula, she's pretty much as sick as her mother is, honestly.
Well, this one was Stephanie, so this is another daughter.
Okay, so all right. So
but yeah, Paula is as well.
We've got Gertrude, Stephanie, and Paula, who basically are absolute liars and manipulators. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like they know what their mom is going to do to Sylvia, and they're causing it. They're almost like it's a part of their enjoyment.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too, is you start to okay, so they're lying to Gertrude, and Gertrude's just obviously protecting her kids, and she's just taking it to the extreme. Things are going to take a wild turn where that no longer happens. Then they began doing things like Stephanie and Paula would begin taking turns with Gertrude by attacking Sylvia and beating her. And I'm not talking a slap here and there. I'm talking point blank. Paula beat her so badly that she had broken her wrist on her. And once that she got the cast on it, she would then beat Sylvia with her cast. Yeah.
This poor kid had no protection whatsoever.
No.
I mean, she was getting bullied by two sisters and the mother. How many more kids are going to get in on this?
All of them.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And if that isn't bad enough, the oldest girls, they began inviting their friends over. Okay?
To beat her up.
They invited her.
And they took part.
Not only to beat her, but they allowed them to rape her as well.
Oh, my God.
Things like inserting a Coca-Cola bottle, glass bottle. So there's that. And they invited their friends to do it. And nobody is saying anything. None of these kids have said anything to anybody.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So now we're having a party. Let's go beat up Sylvia, who's locked and tied in the basement. They've now got her tied to a pole and just constantly a punching bag.
I mean, this speaks to some of the cruelty that can exist in kids, and how peer pressure or wanting to be liked, let's just go along, even if it means doing something this horrible to another human being. I don't get the mentality.
Peer pressure or not, that is so clear cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sylvia was beginning to be marked up really badly, and so much so that, there were cigarette burns all over her body where they would butt out cigarettes. They would take matches and light the match and then butt them out on her as well.
And she was going to school, right?
That's what we're about to talk about.
Okay.
So apparently, at one point, people started to question, what's going on. The neighbors could hear screams, and they just got, mind your own business kind of thing. It was, turn your head, cover your eyes kind of thing.
Right.
But eventually, Gertrude, once she let her in the basement, once she put her in the basement permanently, she stopped her from going to school. And she told the kids to tell, if anybody asks, if the pastor from the church asks, or if anybody at school asks, say that Sylvia was, a horrible child and she had to go to juvenile.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically we have liars and sadists.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, pretty much. So the crazy thing about all this is, though, the Likens family, the parents, would come and visit every so often. But yet they stated that they didn't notice anything out of ordinary.
And the child never told them anything?
No, because Gertrude apparently told them that if they did tell him, that they would kill her.
Oh,
that she would kill them.
All right.
Yeah. But then eventually, when the parents were writing, they stopped getting the letters. So Gertrude was just tossing the letters out.
Okay.
Okay. And that was another thing that happened, was Jenny found a letter and took it to Sylvia, and so they used a payphone to call their mom and dad and was like, we need to come get you. And they're like, okay, well, we're coming to get you next week. We'll be done with the season.
Right.
Well, Gertrude's family, the kids, saw them making the call. They run back to Gertrude and tell her. So as soon as they walk in, bam, Sylvia gets beat again. So eventually she stopped her from going to school. She stopped all communication with Lester and the mom. That was that. An important note through all of this is that Sylvia would often pass out from the pain during her torture, like every normal human body would.
Right.
And Gertrude would get angry and would begin bashing her head against the wall to wake her up. God. Yeah. So after all of this is going on, they haven't seen Sylvia for a while. Things are starting to get a little unsteady. A local father had called and reported that he had seen Sylvia have sores on her body at that time that she was still in school.
Did he report it to the police, or who did he report this to?
He reported it to the school. And so they sent the school nurse to check it out. Gertrude told the nurse that they were from Sylvia's poor personal hygiene habits.
What?
It was never looked into again.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So many.
So even when she was in school, before she banned her from going to school, and somebody did notice, she was like, oh, it's from her poor personal hygiene habits.
It goes to show how much we fail. Our system, the schools fail these kids.
Yeah, she would go on to tell everybody, like, she was an awful rotten child, and that's why she had to go to juvenile, and that's why nobody had seen her, because she was being kept in the basement. Then, to make matters worse, she was not able to use the restroom in the basement. She was tied to a pole, so she had to use the restroom on herself.
Oh, my God. This poor kid.
So, she developed a horrible kidney disease that was super painful. Number two, every time Gertrude would go down there and see that she had gone to the bathroom on herself, she would then take her upstairs and dump her into scalding hot water in the tub just to clean her. And this would repeat the cycle every single time she had to go to the bathroom, which is multiple times a day for any human being.
Right.
And then throw her in a scalding hot bath.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And if that doesn't make things worse, Gertrude would also make her eat her own feces.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a lot. Yeah, this is a lot.
Yeah. 16 years old. If you need a break yet, guys, go ahead and pause it because it gets worse. Gertrude then begins inviting kids over, okay? So now the mom's inviting kids over. She starts charging them 5 cents a piece to sexually assault and beat Sylvia.
Oh, God, this kid.
They burned the tips of the girl's fingers, poured boiling water over her, raped her, and forced her to sit in scalding hot water. They would rub salt into her wounds that were formed.
Oh, my God.
After which they would beat her and throw her into the basement. Gertrude's kids would torment her with food. They would hand her a plate and then slap it and take it away. They would not give her any nourishment, and by this time, Sylvia is extremely malnourished and underweight.
I have to say at this point that I feel this rage, coming up, welling up inside of me for the people that are doing this stuff and allowing this to happen to this child.
Right. Like, why is nobody saying anything?
Nobody's helping.
And the
this
whole
kid.
family's in on it. We're not talking all adults, not that that's any better, but like little kids too, like her youngest, even James.
Just how can all of these people, all of these different people come in? I mean, is this whole town just a bunch of children of the corn or what?
Not to mention that neighbors knew things were going on and still did not report it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was one of those like where you see a woman like raking her yard and like, what is that? What's going on? And the husband's like, mind your business, dear.
Yeah.
kind of thing, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've tormented her. She's now malnourished and underweight. Gertrude's daughters and their boyfriends then came over and they etched the words, and I mean etched by branding her from a safety pin and a lighter on her stomach that says, "I am a prostitute and proud of it." They also branded Sylvia with an S, okay, for her name, but it ended up being a 3 because apparently I guess they're so damn dumb.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't know how to make an S.
They don't know how to tell the difference, I guess. Gertrude would sexually abuse her by assaulting her and raping her, and then would say, "Nobody is going to marry you because you have been branded and your body is garbage at this point."
My God.
So not only physical, but now attacking the psyche.
Well, that's been going on too.
Yeah. So I'm going to step away from the abuse for a minute because it's a lot. Are you an avid music lover like I am? I'm constantly playing music, but I hate living with the ads. It seems like every time I'm in the middle of a song or going into another song that bam, there's an ad. But with Amazon Music, you can listen to over 90,000 songs with no ads. And now, for a limited time, if you download Amazon Music, you get 6 months free for Disney+. Now, I don't know about you, but I am a Disney lover. I'm constantly on my Disney Plus and always checking out the newest movies that Disney drops. Not to mention going down a little nostalgia and watching the older ones that I grew up with. There's a link down in our description box. Go ahead and click that link. Download Amazon Music, and bam, Disney Plus 6 months free. Not to mention you get to listen to music without the ads. Go ahead and click that link, and welcome to Amazon Music. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast but not sure where to start? Let me put your mind at ease. Use Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout helps you get listed on every major platform at just a click of a button. Well, today, Buzzsprout also includes training videos and how to get your episodes up and what viewers are really looking for. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners. The team at Buzzsprout is also passionate about helping you succeed. Like I said, constantly giving you videos and advice on how to get your podcast moving and get the momentum that you need. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout and get your message out to the world. Link down below in our description box. Click on that link and go ahead and get yourself started. Welcome to the podcasting world. I will mention, guys, that there is a movie called American Crime. An American Crime is, I believe, the actual title. And Elliot Page stars in it, and the guy from American Horror Stories. And there's a lot of known actors. It is rough to watch, but it is mind-boggling. The only thing that really made me mad about this movie was that they painted Gertrude as like this nice lady who just got caught up in stuff, which I'm not buying it. This woman was evil from the freaking start. Right. Gertrude finally makes Sylvia write a letter to her parents stating that she had run away with a local group of boys and that she was raped and her body was mutilated by these boys.
Oh, jeez.
Okay?
Course, yeah.
Basically covering her own ass.
Mm-hmm.
She stated that when the parents came to visit her, that she would hand them the letter and that, they're just trying to take care of her and whatever. Sylvia actually heard a conversation that Gertrude was talking to Paula or one of the other kids, where Gertrude was going to take her out to the forest and tie her up and let her starve to death out there. So Sylvia's then, even throughout the pain, she's very, very mentally unstable. And I don't mean this by a mental illness, but I mean mentally, because she's been bashed so many times.
Well, yeah.
She has head injuries.
Broken.
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
Broken.
So she began screaming from the basement and, trying to get out. And the neighbors said that they heard it. And they almost called 911,
well,
but then
did.
But the screaming stopped, so we figured, why not?
Yeah,
Normally when the screaming stops, that's when you say, oh God, something's wrong.
Right.
So Sylvia tries to run up the steps and get out, and they punish her by beating her. And during this, she goes unconscious again. It's also noted that along with, the head injuries and stuff, that it was stated in the court records that Sylvia at this point was in a time of delirium, which angered Gertrude even more because she couldn't give her straight answers. Right. So on October 26, 1965, Sylvia was very weak from her beatings and tried to make it up the staircase, where she is met by Gertrude, who begins beating her all the way back down the steps, and Gertrude winds up with a final blow to the head, and Sylvia stops breathing.
Oh.
Sylvia Likens died as a result of a brain hemorrhage, which that's a pretty heavy beating.
Oh, my God.
A few days before that, she had lost her ability to move and really talk independently due to the state of the acute shock caused by the torture and the beating. So this was kind of like her last final attempt to get out. Yeah. One of the children then tries to give Sylvia a warm bath because they don't know that she's died at this point. While she's bathing the lifeless body of Sylvia Likens, that's when she realized, oh my God, like she's dead.
Right.
She then is like screaming for her mom, like she's dead, she's dead. And Gertrude just keeps repeating herself, like she's faking. She's faking it. It's not real. She's faking it. And they're like, no, this is the real deal. She's really dead.
Yeah, you were right earlier when you said monster doesn't even cover
It doesn't. I mean, it really does not.
This is a demon.
Yeah. Stephanie's boyfriend runs down, and Gertrude says, call the police, but don't call them from here. Go to a local payphone, which he does. The police are summoned to the home, where Gertrude tells them that Sylvia had run away and returned all beat up, and here was the letter, right?
Right.
And that she was just trying to get her back to health. She was taking care of her, and she went in to check on her, and she found out she just wasn't breathing.
Wow.
Yeah. Jenny, Sylvia's little sister, now it's important to note that very innocent, but because of Gertrude, she kind of like groomed her, so she would make her get involved in these beatings as well.
Oh, no.
Against her own sister.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So Jenny finally goes up to the cops and says, get me out of here and I'll tell you everything. So,
wow.
And that's exactly what happens. So the cops take her and the facts start to unfold. Gertrude, along with 3 of her kids and 2 of their boyfriends, were all arrested, and also 5 neighborhood children were also arrested and charged. Even though they were released, they did have to make like a statement in court, but they basically got a slap on the wrist. The kids that were involved in the neighborhood, which, I mean, to me is total bullcrap. I think that you're responsible at whatever age, you know. If you're beating someone and torturing somebody like that, I don't care if you're 5 years old. Like, it's not okay.
There's consequences. Right.
So technically, they're just getting away with it. Gertrude basically denies any involvement and states that she only made Sylvia sleep in the basement because she had wet the bed and she didn't want her to ruin the mattress.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then she would obviously get further agitated when police would, continue to question her. Officers even said to her, like, Gertrude, there's internal organ damage found on her body. Like, it's not lining up with the story that you're giving to us. And she was like, no, like, nothing happened,
She's going to continue to deny.
Yeah.
Right.
The autopsy of Sylvia revealed that she had over 150 wounds on her body. She was incredibly thin, malnourished. She was burnt, cut, there were lacerations, bruises, and severe muscle damage. All of her fingernails were bent backwards from defending herself.
Oh.
Yeah. And she was missing the top layer of skin on her face, neck, chest, and knees.
God.
Yeah. Her official cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head.
Yes.
But Gertrude, Paula, and John were charged with first-degree murder. Stephanie, another child of Gertrude, her charges were dropped because she agreed to testify against the family in court.
Okay.
So, of course.
Yeah, right.
Richard Hobbs and Coy Hubbard, they were charged with premeditated malice. They were the boyfriends, and one was a neighbor.
Right.
Gertrude then had a defense that she was not responsible for her kids' actions, and because the other kids were responsible for the children. So the older children should have been responsible for the younger kids' actions. So, and this is the thing too, like, she threw her kids under the bus. She beat Sylvia because she attacked her kids, supposedly, you know. But then she ultimately threw her own kids under the bus in the court.
Of course she would.
She went on to say, like, she was too depressed to handle anything in life, and so obviously it was the oldest kid's responsibility to take care of the household, and they were ultimately responsible.
Wow, twisted.
Yeah, go pound salt, Gertrude. The trial lasted 17 days, and Gertrude was convicted of first-degree murder. Richard, Coy, and John were also convicted with manslaughter, and they were sentenced to 18 months in juvenile detention center. And it is said that Richard suffered from a mental breakdown. Oh, poor guy. So sorry.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And he just, suffered from this mental breakdown because the heaviness of his crimes hit him while he was in, I don't know if you call juvenile jail, but I'm just going to say jail. Mm-hmm. He ultimately died of lung cancer at the age of 21, so not feeling sorry for you, bud. Coy was in and out of the prison system the rest of his life, and he ultimately died at 56 of a heart attack. Also, not feeling sorry for you, bud.
Yep.
Gertrude was sentenced to a life sentence without the possibility of parole.
Okay.
Paula was also sentenced to life in prison. And during a retrial,
What?
yeah, during a freaking retrial, Paula's sentence was reduced to voluntary manslaughter, and her sentence was reduced to 2 to 21 years, and only served 3 years when she was let out of prison.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. Oh, hold on. It's about to get worse. And during that same retrial, Gertrude's was still convicted of first-degree murder, but her sentence was changed to 18 years to life. And it stated that she was a model prisoner, and the other inmates would even call her mom when she worked in the sewing room.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah. And guess what? Her parole came up in 1985. The community was outraged and signed a petition, but guess what? She was released. She was released after she changed her name to Nadine Van Vossen and was released, where she then moved to Iowa, where she lived for 5 more years until she died of lung cancer. Don't feel sorry for you. She died in 1990. Paula also moved to Iowa, where she became a freaking teacher.
Of course she did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah. So I'm sending my kid to school to be taught
By
by
a murderer.
someone who has murdered a child.
Murdered, raped, abused, and tortured a child.
But that's okay because, I did my time, but not really. I didn't do the whole time. I mean, I got out on parole, but...
Well, eventually the school did find out her history and fired her. So that's an important note. But don't you think they should check into that before?
Maybe before, yeah.
Yeah. John ended up changing his name to John Blake. In case you're wondering, John Blake, that's Blake with the last name. He became a minister. He was one of the ones that was responsible for branding I'm a prostitute and proud of it in her stomach and raping her.
Yeah. I know. Let's talk about blood boiling.
Yeah. He later came to fully accept the responsibility and stated that he should have been sentenced with a longer sentence, but now he's a changed man. Of course, anybody that's not in jail is going to say, oh, yeah, I probably...
Changed man.
Well, that and I probably should have served a longer time.
Well...
People in jail don't say that.
No.
Ugh, asinine is what this is. Jenny, Sylvia's sister, went on to marry and have children, and in 2001, a memorial was set for Sylvia in Indianapolis, and the movie that was made was titled An American Crime. That is today's awful case. There are so many more details, guys, but I had to stop. Like, I have pictures on my phone of her autopsy. Like, it is real. They really did carve that into her stomach. She was maybe 80 pounds when she died. It is truly unbelievable. At least try to get through the movie to educate yourself, because this is the shit that could literally go on anywhere and nobody says anything. Does.
Not can, but it does.
Yeah.
And as we speak, is going on somewhere.
And these people were actively involved in church. In church.
Yeah, exactly.
The pastor came to them, and to come to find out, like, Paula was pregnant the whole time. Like, how all of this started was because she told her mom that she called me a slut, which wasn't the truth.
Right.
And Paula was, in fact, pregnant.
Phew. Wow. My mind is reeling right. And it really goes to show how much we fail these children by not getting involved. When you see something, say something. Mm-hmm. You see something, please say something. And if you don't see anything being done about it, keep saying something. And keep saying something. Because this child could have been saved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's, we talk about a lot of cases here. And they're horrific and they're mind-boggling, and you kind of get desensitized to it, right? And I am no way trying to say that somebody's murder is any less, but it almost makes you, and I don't even want to say appreciate, but it almost makes you, like, thankful in a way that some of these murders have happened very quickly, where this was so drawn out.
And this is a child, too, and I think...
yeah.
It really hits a lot harder, mm-hmm. I believe, especially, females.
Yeah.
And
females inflicting on other females like this.
To have a child suffer this type of abuse emotionally, sexually, physically, the trauma, and the pain, can you even imagine?
No.
The pain, the fear, and what it did to her psyche.
Yeah.
And then ultimately her death. And all for what? Because the parents worked in
a carnival.
With a carnival or with a circus and couldn't take care of their kid and, come on.
Thought they could trust a person that went to church,
yeah.
and said, I'll take care of your kids. I've already got a ton of kids as it is. Like, what's two more? This is one of the things too, that we have family members that are very strict with who they allow their children to be babysat by, to be around. And this is the reason why, because I'm not even going to say monster, because demons like Gertrude, they flippin' exist.
Right.
And just because we don't always know it or see it doesn't mean that they're not here.
Exactly.
And then the fact that she was released. How do you release somebody who murdered, tortured a 16-year-old kid? Like,
I think what I want everyone to get out of this case, especially if you have kids, just because someone is a police officer, or if someone is a minister, if someone is a teacher on the school board, or in any other form of employer, or, high in the community or whatever, you need to know who your kids are with. If nothing else, that's what we want you to get from this, is know who your kids are with.
Know exactly what you said. Know who your kids are around. Know their friends parents. Know as much as you can. Be aware. We always talk about situational awareness. This applies to that as well.
Yeah, and when it comes to kids, I really tend to get up on a soapbox about it because I am very passionate about keeping children safe.
Absolutely.
So forgive us for our heightened emotions on this.
It's a case that does heighten your emotions. Even when I watched the movie, I was like, and you were actually in the house, and you were like, what are you watching? Because you were hearing the screaming. And I literally had to mute it at times because it is intense. But guys, check out the Facebook page this week on Sunday, not this week, Sunday, because I'll be announcing the winners for the giveaway. So stay tuned to that. If you have not registered for that, the deadline's over. I'm sorry. So, but congratulations to the winners. And we've got some fun things for you guys, and it may include an interview on our podcast. Just saying. Anyway, thanks, guys. Go get you a stiff drink because Lord knows.
Yeah.
Lord knows, this poor child. But
go hug your kids.
Hug your kids. We love you guys. We thank you for the support. We thank you for coming back out to the Rage Room. And on that note, have yourself a wonderful week. Enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the rain, because life is too damn short.
For real.
Bye, guys.